everyone, welcome to my channel, The Orchid Hut. My name is Dana, and today's video is going to be about the march of orchids back to the Orchid Hut for the growing season. So it's the march of orchids in March, and I'm going to take you on a little outside tour here on the way to the Orchid Hut and show you what I've done so far. And I apologize in advance if the video is a little bit wobbly. I am off the tripod and just sort of holding the camera and trying to balance it as best I can. The first, I guess, feature on the way to the Orchid Hut is my gorgeous mountain laurel tree, just starting to bloom. It must have, gosh, hundreds of mountain laurel blooms on it. The scent is absolutely fantastic, sort of a waxy grapey kind of color, waxy grapey type of scent, and of course the color is a little bit grapey as well because it's a purple bloom. My favorite tree in the whole yard. Okay, so let's go. It's going to get a little bit wobbly as I walk down the path here. I'm carefully choosing which orchids are coming outside first. The next week has a forecast of nighttime temperatures of above 60 degrees Fahrenheit. So for the next week for sure it should be fine, and then after that we should be late enough in the season not to have a problem. There's actually a gorgeous cardinal up in the top of this tree, but I'm probably not going to be able to get him. So this is kind of like where I'm starting. So I brought out my Radiata Orchid. I think it's going to be able to tolerate this just fine. It does have two blooms starting, one right here and one right here. And I want to, be sure that I don't wait too long to bring this outside because I want it to be able to adjust and not have those buds blast. There's my one cymbidium that's left. That's going to be outside now. I have brought out all of my vanda baskets, and they really don't have much adjusting to do because they have been in the garage, and I've been hanging them on the edge of the garage now for several weeks, so they have sort of already acclimated to being back outside. And now as the weather becomes warmer and the light becomes more intense, they'll kind of go through a natural adjustment period, which is perfect. That's what they need to do. And then my Maxillaria tenafolia, which has been in the house under the grow lights, is out here. It has tons of new bulbs on it, which grew over the winter. And hoping for some blooms on that one soon. And then I'm also going to be bringing out my Bulbophyllum Baskets. This one, hopefully you can see some of the new growth that's happening on this one. This is Bulbophyllum Ryomi. I purchased it, thought it was Fascinator, but then when it bloomed, someone from the American Orchid Society said, "Oh, that's not Fascinator, that's Ryomi." And what I'm doing with these Bulbophyllum baskets, let's go back to this just for a second. They did need kind of sprucing up on the top a little bit. There's a mixture of both bark and sphagnum moss inside these baskets, and they're shallow-rooted orchids, so they grow well in these baskets, but it seemed like over the winter, some of that bark had sort of sunk in, and there were some of the little roots that were exposed. So I top-filled the baskets just a bit with some fresh bark. And then down here, this one always makes me laugh. Renko stylish Gigantea, and it has quite a long way to go before it lives up to its name of Gigantea, but this one didn't need any kind of maintenance. It's planted in really large orchid bark as well as large charcoal pieces, and so it was perfectly fine. It's just going to be hanging out here. But you can see I've got hooks across the top. I did hang a little birdhouse right here that matches some of my orchid pots. There's hooks along the top under the eaves, and I just need to sort of dust off the shelf that I built last year and continue bringing the orchids out. We are still digging out from under the leaves, as you can see. So there's a good bit of leaf work to do. And then these really large oak trees that make the canopy above the orchid hut are just perfect because they give the filtered light. But the next thing that's going to drop are all of the blooms. So there are a ton of bloom tassels up there that will drop next and have to be cleaned up. And then this is a tree that has a lot of red berries on it, an ornamental holly that has a lot of red berries, and the cedar waxwings will come sometime during the spring and eat all of those little red berries off. Okay, so orchids are on the march. I apologize for not having had any orchid videos for a number of days. My entire family was very, very sick. Some of us were in the hospital with a vicious stomach bug, including me. But I am back and doing well, and so of course the orchids are going to be needing attention, so I will need to be back on my feet to tend to all of this work. Okay, so if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. The subscribe button will be coming in the bottom right hand corner of the screen. Thanks so much for watching. I'll continue to give some updates as the orchids continue to march outside in March. Thanks for watching.